Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Tuesday. We'll have Buddy Martin. We'll have Graham Hall from 24/7 Sports get his thoughts on recruiting, portal, all that nonsense. Also, if you missed it last night, Jags lose at home in a thriller. I went to bed at halftime. Trevor Lawrence went down with an injury, a lot of injuries for the Jags, but Jake Browning was on fire last night, backup quarterback for the Bengals. Let's go to the Titan Number Hotline, and we are joined by the one and the only Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. He's courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. How you doing, buddy?
Good, Shane. Good morning. Unfortunately, I got hooked into that NFL game last night. You went to bed at halftime. I stayed up till the overtime. I thought, I know how this is going to come out, and I said, I'm going to bed. So I did not see the final play, the final drive, and Jake Browning's heroics. Devastating injury to Trevor Lawrence. I saw when it happened. His foot was stepped on by his tackle, and he went down, and then somebody hit him, and he bent his leg back, and I guess hurt his ankle. I thought at first it might be one of those things you get when you stretch your ligament too far the wrong way. But it looks like it could be more serious than that. What a devastating time. Things went bad for them all of a sudden. They missed a field goal, and then the whole night went to hell in the handbag for the Jags. So they were in good position to win. And, and Cincinnati, give them credit. They struck it in there and they won the game. But by the way, I sure hate seeing it happen to Trevor Lawrence.
Well, they just said it's an ankle, a sprained ankle. So we'll see. They'll have more tests tonight or
a
last
high
night.
Ankle sprain. The high ankle sprain is one of the worst things you can have, as you know.
Well, for a quarterback, it ain't that bad because you don't have to really use it. I mean, it will hamper him, but he's not like a skill guy.
Yeah. Did you ever have one, Shane? High ankle sprain?
Yeah, I did. On YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Gator Josh says, QB heard a rumor that the new hires are coming from the NFL, like the Chargers defensive back coach will be coming to the Gators. Also heard the Washington Huskies OC is rumored to be our new one. What have you heard? That's all new to me. I didn't know anything about that. Buddy, did y'all talk about it on your show?
Yeah, France talked about it. France talked about it some last night. He had a lot of information. What's the guy's name? Harris? Is that one of them?
And the other, he didn't give me any. I don't know any of those people. So
yeah, Franz did a lot. I don't know how accurate it is, but he gave us a lot of information last night, and including the defensive. Well, that's a waste list. Defensive coordinator from Texas A&M who was here years ago with Urban. So yeah, I don't know how much that. I can't even grasp it all. I told you last night on our show, my mind is spinning with all this information about the portal and the playoffs, and just my head blew up finally last night. I just got to slow down and stop and think about this crazy stuff. Having said that, however, the air is clearing today. Let's get down to the championship games because we're going to have some pretty good ones.
So the offensive coordinator, Washington, I just looked him up. His name is Ryan Grubb.
I haven't heard that one, though.
You have or have not?
I have not.
Well,
I don't know. I have no information. I don't know.
Well, here's what I will tell you. He's coached at South Dakota State, Sioux Falls, Eastern Michigan, Fresno State, and Washington.
Huh. Well, they criticize Billy for being in the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's good coaches everywhere. They don't have to be big schools.
I mean, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you can coach, you can coach. But I've never heard of him, and those are really small schools. So Tony asked, why would the UW OC leave? That's a great question, Tony. I have no idea. This is the first I've heard of this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that. He obviously has a relationship with Kalen DeBoer, who hired him. So DJ Durkin is in the
Durkin.
mix.
I don't know. That's just one name for answer out there. I think wishful thinking. I mean, he would be it would be great to pair him up with Armstrong, but I don't know if they got that kind of money. You'd have to pay him quite a bit of money. So I don't know. I know nothing about that. I never known less about Florida football than I know now.
Yeah. Manuel on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says Saban ain't the greatest coach of all time, like some of these ESPN people say. He's the greatest recruiter of all time. Bryant, Paterno, Bowden, and Spurrier were better.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, he made some great adjustments in the game against Georgia. Let's just say that.
I must say this is that what's happened, what lost in all this controversy is the greatness of Nick Saban. I don't care if you like him or not. I mean, he's come back for yet another career. They said he was dead in the water. And if you think of what he's done and put his numbers up there, whether you like it or not, the fact is the guy has proven to be the greatest coach of all time. And you give him whatever era you want to, and he seems to be able to adapt to it. And by the way, he did it again with new coordinators, didn't he? Again, with the two brand new coordinators. I mean, this guy keeps doing it. I don't know how he does it. He's amazing. Let's give props to the guy for being what he is. I think he's unquestionably a great coach and maybe the greatest of all time.
Okay. We got a bunch of coaching questions here. I'd be surprised if they bring in DJ Durkin, quite honestly.
It's just a rumor. It's not any fact.
I don't know. He got fired, I think, at Maryland and at Ole Miss.
But as a head coach, one, and
I think he wasn't head coach. He's never been a head coach.
Oh, that's right. I was saying he got to Maryland. No, he didn't. He did get fired. You're right. Correct. I've always liked him. I've known him. He's smart. He's a smart guy. He's a good coordinator. I don't know why he hadn't been successful. The people I know think a lot of him.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll be a good hire or not.
Some people you hired? Who you?
I don't know. I'm not. I mean, I don't know about bringing people back because look, was DJ Durkin a good coach here? He coached them a bunch of NFL guys. I mean, that's just like Charlie Strong. I love Charlie Strong, but Charlie didn't do anything after he left with Spikes and all those guys. So, regardless, there's another. Somebody said Willie Korn, who is the OC at Liberty, is coming here. So Willie Korn played quarterback, I believe, at Clemson. Here's his coaching stops: Charleston Southern, Coastal Carolina, and Liberty.
Let's get the Liberty guy, bring him in here.
All right, but I just mentioned where he coached, and people are going to raise hell because people are talking about the Sun Belt. These are smaller.
Exactly right. I'm saying I agree with you. I'm agreeing with you. That Sun Belt Billy doesn't look too bad. I don't know.
Tony wants Terry Bradshaw as our DB coach.
DB, Terry Bradshaw. My man Terry Bradshaw doesn't know much except he got picked 212 times by the guys in the secondary. What, Terry Bradshaw? Okay.
Oh yeah, he was. Durkin was the head coach at Maryland. Got fired.
Okay, I thought I remember him being a head coach there.
But he didn't. He may have said he left Ole Miss on his own, but I was told that they were getting rid of him at Ole Miss. Regardless, it doesn't matter. Taking our text line. This is from. This is a text about the Washington Huskies guy. Somebody wants to know. I don't know. Y'all know more than I do, apparently. Greg from up Fort Myers says the name for OC from On3 Sports is Willie Korn as the OC.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Shane, you're connected with the people up there. Once you find out, you know those people.
But why do I care? Because it
doesn't matter. You're the only link we got. We want to know.
That's not true. Who do I know there? I don't talk to anybody there.
Well, you don't ask them. You ask them, they talk to you because you got.
They would not tell me. They would not tell me.
No?
Trust me. They would not tell
me. You don't have one source on that team you can talk to.
Nope. Tony says zero chance Durkin is back at UF. I would agree with that. I would agree.
How does Tony know?
Well, he doesn't. That's his opinion, and I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm agreeing with that. So, buddy, let's talk about the 14 playoff. Obviously, the semi fans are up in an uproar.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. But I mean, honestly, what I don't understand is, if they said they took the four best teams, they didn't. Because as much as we hate to say it here, um, the Georgia Bulldogs are one of I still think they're the best team in
Got to
America.
be probably the second or third best team.
Yeah. So, your thoughts on the four teams that they chose?
All right. Well, look, I don't know who you leave out. No matter what you do, you make who you leave out. You can't leave out Alabama. I don't know who you drop. Here's the whole issue. I thought about this morning, gave it some thought. The question for every competition is it fair? Is it fair? Well, yeah, for four teams, but not for two. And in the end, here's what happened. Showbiz and Nielsen ratings won out over values because what they did was they bowed to the fact that these were better games to draw bigger crowds. They didn't want another TCU situation. The fact is that maybe it's the right call, maybe it's not. Look, these guys are not visionaries. There's no way they can sit there and consider and project what this team is going to do. They don't know. If they were that smart, they'd be in Las Vegas betting on the games. And it's unfair in many ways to say to FSU, if this is the reason why, and I'm not saying it is, Shane, if one of the reasons why they didn't project them is they didn't like their quarterback situation, they were hurt, and they wouldn't put them in because that's wrong, because the same thing could have applied to Michigan, who, by the way, they could have penalized for cheating. They turned their head on that deal. I don't know. So I don't know exactly what the criteria were. Look, I don't blame the committee. They had a hard job. They did their best, given the priorities they had and the guidelines they had. There were six conferences. Well, excuse me. There were six teams who could go in four spots. And there were five power conferences to go in four spots. How do you get 10 pounds or into a 5-pound bag? So I don't know what's right. I think in the end, we may be saved by the games. There's some good things about it. I like Texas being in it. That was good. And I like the testimonials of Nick Saban's greatness. I don't care what you say about it. This guy's amazing. So it's going to be interesting TV. That's what they want, right? TV.
Yeah, but if all Power Five conference champions were undefeated, Florida State would still be left out, even if they had Jordan Travis, in my opinion.
What's funny is you got the Pac-12 disintegrating, and they're still better than the ACC. ACC got hurt. Well, Clemson didn't help any what happened to Clemson. So, and then of course North Carolina. So, I guess they were the odd man out. So I got to say, I really am tired of criticizing them now. I'm ready to move on with the rest of the football season. But it was a tough job, and everybody's got an opinion about it. I know two teams got hosed, Georgia being one. I wrote that last night in the Twitter account, or what they call that thing with X. And the guy said, "What do you mean Georgia got hosed?" Well, if you're one of the best four teams in the country, you didn't get in, you got hosed, Shane.
Yeah, I agree 1,000% with that, for sure. Jamie says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, how would Gene Chizik do for DC? He's North Carolina's defensive coordinator. I like Gene a lot. He's got Florida ties. He played here.
Yeah.
But he's got a relationship with Mac Brown. So
yeah.
Coaching is all about relationships.
Well, you got to think about the long-term future of Florida right now, too. What is it? I mean, you got a guy who's going to be a lame duck coach next year. He's got to win, or he's going to be gone.
Yeah, for sure. Andy said on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, if the semis beat Georgia and they are the only undefeated team at the playoffs, look for a parade and tally. Yeah. I don't know how many players from either one of those teams are going to be playing in that Orange Bowl.
You don't think? Well, it's the New Year's Six game. It's a shame, too.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia's roster is stacked. Their backup quarterback has gone into the portal, but I think he'll still play in this game if Carson Beck goes pro. They got a lot of deals, situations to deal with. Toby says Paul Leonard would be a good DC, has ties with Mertz.
Never heard of him.
I don't know who Paul Leonard is. Never heard of Paul Leonard. So, yeah, Justin says they're not going to be bringing in another defensive coordinator. I
understand, but there is the theory that maybe a co-coordinator might be best for Armstrong till he gets his training wheels off. That's the prevailing theory about a lot of people. They think he's a bright young guy, but maybe given too much on his plate along with others. But I don't know. It seems to me like remember when Urban had Greg Madison, Charlie Strong?
Well, let's just say this: if everybody thinks it's DJ Durkin, he's not coming
Oh, I
because
don't think everybody thinks
that means you're going to fire Bateman or Mike Peterson because he coaches linebackers.
Well, you have to have a secondary coach, that's for sure.
Well, he ain't coaching secondary. God
No, I know that.
Let's don't have him coaching secondary.
No, I didn't say that. I mean,
they're talking about Jim Leonard. Yeah, Jim Leonard was a teammate of mine. Unbelievable football player, smart. But just because he has a tie with Mertz doesn't mean he's coming to Florida. He has to have a tie with the coach. The coach. All right. So here's another one. What do I think about Willie Corn? I know nothing about Willie Corn. I just remember he played a little bit of quarterback back in his day for the Clemson Tigers. He's coached at Coastal Carolina, Charleston Southern, and now Liberty. Okay. Again, he probably could be a great coach. But y'all sitting here bitching about Billy coming from the Sun Belt.
Yeah, right. right. Yeah, I love our listeners, and I love the fact they bring information to your show and mine. We had a big crowd last night. I learned a lot from them, and I God bless them for having their opinions. But don't make a guy a household name or we've never heard of it.
Yeah. Here's a question. Zach on YouTube, brought to you by Quiet Plum, says, who's in charge of the scheduling? Some SEC teams have 4 cupcakes next season, and we have 1. Big disadvantage for us from the start. It's all done by the league.
Yeah. Don't you get to pick your own? You get to pick your
well, your outer conference
game.
The SEC.
That's a formula. That's a formula.
Yeah, they have a formula where they throw the teams in, and I know starting next year, because Commissioner Sankey told us in the meeting. I probably should have took some notes, but I didn't. Everybody starting when Texas, Oklahoma come in. Everybody will be playing everybody within their 4-year period. You'll play all representation from the Southeastern Conference. I don't know how they do it, but they're going to do it. So
yeah. Well, Florida gets Oklahoma next year. Is that right?
No, we get Texas.
Texas
and Texas A&M. We get. All right, here is Scott on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum. Any truth to Harris being a DB coach? I think he's the Charger assistant. I don't know, Scott. We mentioned that at the beginning of the show. I'll ask Graham Hall. Maybe Graham has some information on this.
I think Franz said he was. I think Franz said he was, but I don't know. Yeah. Graham would know.
We need to bring some players in here. That's the thing. The portal started yesterday. A lot of people. Ohio State has a ton of players in the portal. I saw the number 3 player from his recruiting class in America. Yeah. I think he was a wide receiver. He's in the portal.
Here's some numbers for you right now. You want to know who's in double digits? This is the information I just got on Twitter. I'm hoping it's correct. But it's a pretty good source. Ohio State has 11. I understand they had 12, and the other one's not shown up yet. Notre Dame has had 10. NC State has 15. And Kansas State has 12. So, yeah, there's quite a few. So, Florida's got what? 8, 7, 8? How many they got?
We got 11, I believe. Now, out of those 11, Caleb Douglas has played some. Chris McClellan has played, but a lot of them were never probably going to play here.
Max Brown.
Right. I mean, Max got to play in the one game, but I don't think you would have ever seen him play again unless it was multiple injuries. So, again, what's sad about the portal is there are tons of players that are in that portal that their football careers are over, basically.
Did you tell me there are 3,500 people in there, Shane?
I think somebody showed me that the other day. There's a website you can go to, and it'll tell you.
What is it?
One of our listeners knows. So y'all shoot me the link so Buddy can look at the transfer portal and study it all day.
Yeah, well.
Joseph says, I can't believe he hasn't moved on an O-line coach yet. I did ask somebody, Buddy, I don't have sources, but I was briefly, I don't remember where I was yesterday, but I said, when are we going to make any moves on offense? He goes, yes, they will make moves on the offense, but probably after signing day or maybe after the portal. I don't know whether that's true or not. but we've made no moves on offense, which is somewhat surprising a little bit because I still do not believe in two O-line coaches. Makes absolutely no sense to me.
Didn't seem to help much. Did
No, no.
you see the finalists on the Heisman?
I did see that. I have no problem with it. I think it will be a landslide. It may be a who has won by the biggest margin in the Heisman? Do you know that, buddy?
I do not.
I don't know how this won't be, quite honestly. I think Jaden Daniels wins it walking away.
I'm not supposed to say who I voted for, but
No, don't do it, buddy. You can tell us
but
next week. You can tell us.
here's the deal: they're all SEC guys. Okay, so obviously I didn't vote for Penix, I didn't vote for Harrison, and didn't vote for Nick.
This text here on the Titan MR text line says, how can anyone justify paying college kids more than the 49ers Brock Purdy? I agree 100%. There's some kids probably making more than Trevor Lawrence if Trevor Lawrence is still on his rookie contract. Makes absolutely no sense to me. But what do I know?
Well, Jaden Daniels to me looks like a clear-cut winner, but I don't know. I don't know who deserves it more. I don't think Harrison does. I don't.
Marvin Harrison is a tremendous player,
but he's not a Heisman Trophy winner.
No, so it goes to the most outstanding football player in America.
No.
Okay. As much as we hate to say it, Jaden Daniels did something that nobody in the history of the game of football has ever done.
Right. Well, that gets you.
And he didn't do it just one time. He did it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
He has his numbers shadow Joe destroyed. I can't even talk right. They shatter what Joe Burrow did.
Mm-hmm.
Total yardage and touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
It's a no-brainer. No-brainer.
And he's an exciting player. Very exciting player. And he yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't know anymore if we got the guidelines right, but I've been voting in this thing forever. And by the way, once again, they had technical problems. I sent my vote in last night. I always like to wait till the last minute. Sent it in, got it sent in, and then they said, fine, thank you for voting. Then I got a email from a guy in the United Kingdom from Deloitte and whatever that place is, that firm is, saying, did you have problems voting? I said, no. They said, well, according to what we had, your vote didn't get it. I said, what do you mean? I just got an email saying it got through. Well, you need to go back and send it again. Just send us an email. I did again. So I voted twice because they asked me to. And not that it matters, but
sketchy voting going on.
Yeah, that's right. Get some dead people to vote, whatever. But now that they've always had technical issues with that for some reason, the last 5 or 6 years. A lot of people haven't. But I don't think it's going to matter because I think Daniels is going by a big margin anyway.
9-4 Low Life on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, seems like Billy wants to keep calling plays. We're doomed. I disagree with that. I don't know if he's going to call plays or not, but you averaged over 34 points a game in SEC play. Offense was not your problem. That's all
I think it's more of a case of just Billy wearing too many hats.
No, I'm just saying.
But I'm saying, yeah, offense, I know.
Having said all that, offense was not the problem this year.
I agree with you. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying the problem is he's got too many things on his plate. He's got to get rid of some.
Well, I hear people saying that, but there's multiple coaches in America that are doing it all. Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. We got Buddy on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. On the Titan MR text line, Philip from Enterprise, Alabama says, good morning. I'm thankful that FSU and UGA are both out. Now I don't have to decide which Hallmark movie to watch when they play each other.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. It is a Hallmark movie. It is a Hallmark movie. Look, I go back to the kids. You said it last night. You feel bad for the kids.
Yeah.
You've been taught if you win, you're in. That wasn't the case. And you had the second or third best team in the country not in. And FSU went undefeated, won a Power 5 conference not in. I don't know what they. I would hate to be a committee man. I wouldn't know who to leave out either. The system is broken. Thank goodness we're getting a new one. If it had been for the stubborn ACC commissioner and different people who delayed this thing, we'd have had 12 this year. Then that would have been resolved.
Yeah. Andy wants to know, buddy, did you ever cover the Army Navy game?
You know, it's funny. I never did. I never did. I had opportunities to cover it. And I lived in New York. I went up to West Point a few times, but I never covered it. You know, I know it's its own entity and it's a great spectacle, but I got spoiled on SEC football. Everywhere I went around the country, when I went to the Northeast, it was a joke, except for Penn State and sometimes Syracuse. I went to Colorado, you know, the Big Eight. Colorado had a little bit of a run. Nebraska was king, but it was not any SEC football dwarfed that league. And I would go to Folsom Field, and they'd have 48,000. People say, "Isn't this great?" I said, "No, not back home. They're getting 70 and 80,000. I'm not impressed. I've always been spoiled by SEC football. Is Army Navy important? Yes, it is. Is it my favorite football venue? No. I like to see quality football, and these two teams are good. I loved Air Force. I covered Air Force a lot. They had some really good teams. They beat Notre Dame 3 straight years when I was out in Colorado. But I'm not an Army Navy advocate. I know it's honors the servicemen, and I'm all for that, people who serve. But to answer your question, I did not, but I would like to probably.
Yeah, it's being played in Foxborough, which I think that's the first time it's been played
It
there.
is Philadelphia.
A lot of people are not very happy with that decision playing it there. So I would like to go to that game. I don't care to go to a lot of games, but I think I want to
Really?
attend that one. Yeah.
Why?
Because I just think it's awesome. Just and I've heard there's nothing like it when you go to the game.
Yeah.
It's boring as hell. There's no question about that.
That's the point. It is boring. Yes.
But it's all the other stuff, the pageantry and just the loyalty and the kids playing their asses off.
Shane, what stadium would you like to go to? I never went to the Big House. I would like to go there. I've been to Ohio State. I've been to a lot of stadiums, Rose Bowl, etc. What stadium would you like to go to that you haven't to see a game?
Oh, I really don't care about the stadium, because I don't like to go to games. I would just like to go to the Army Navy game, but I want to go to when it's played, I think in Philly, because I think that's where it should be played, or maybe in Baltimore. But stadium wise, I told some of my buddies that love to go to games. I said, y'all have to go to Lambeau Field. It's the best stadium in all the sports.
It's nice.
Just it's the history where it's built. It's like in the middle of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You have to go to a game at Lambeau Field.
Yeah. I've never been to Jerry's World.
Yeah, I have. It's just the Mercedes-Benz Stadium's a lot better than Jerry World.
Is it?
Yeah. 941 Low Life says his offense will get us blown out next season. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But you better worry about your defense, Low Life. That's all I can say. Like I said, everybody can bitch and complain. I'm just as critical as you guys are. I love offense. But I look at it from a football team standpoint. Offense was not your problem, Low Life, this year. If you can't see that, you do not understand football at all. And this isn't a shot at you. It's just telling you facts.
Shane, I mean, this is a fact, though. If Florida falls behind next year, the gap may even widen more. And I'm telling you, they're not at the same level as the other teams. You said yourself on the hook.
I've said we will not. I don't know if we can ever catch up to Alabama and Georgia.
Right. That's the whole point. That's what's scary.
Yeah. Justin says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Point, with the kind of talent out there in the portal, the opportunity to have a quick turnaround exists now more than ever. Money is all it takes. Agree.
I'm not going to buy that.
You're not going to buy that, buddy?
No, because I've seen teams try to buy championships and it never works. Never works.
Well, I mean, Alabama has some transfers on. I mean, not all their players.
They didn't buy it. They did it the right way, though.
I mean, they have really good players and really good coaching, and that's a good formula to win a bunch of games.
And they have money. I remember when I heard Kirby Smart say at media days in Atlanta like 5 years ago, he was meeting with a bunch of captains of industry in Atlanta. As soon as he went from there to was the one in Atlanta. And he would meet with, I thought, what's he meeting with all these business people? Well, you know what he's doing? He knew NIL was coming. He was getting ready for it. Get your pocketbooks out, boys. We're going to need your money. And, obviously that's a big advantage. You got money like that. I don't know what's Florida's money situation. I've always heard they have lots of money, but it's going to get hard to collect it now these days, Shane, looking down the barrel of next season's schedule.
Yeah. But here's the thing is I try to tell people the schedule looks very difficult. There's no question about that. But a lot of teams are going through the same stuff Florida is. Turnover. You don't know who is leaving. Do they have senior quarterbacks leaving? So just wait till next year and see what happens. That's all. I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean? Buddy, who you got on your program tonight?
Our usual Tuesday night crew, David Whitley will be there. We'll have Coach Torrin Meadows. He'll have giveaway trivia for the Spurriers, and we have a pop in with another guest or two. Don't forget, tomorrow night is our Sweet and Sour program when Allie will be on along with David Moulton. Don't miss that as well. Buddy, good stuff as always. Appreciate it. Talk to you next week. Thank you, Shane. That is Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. Take a quick time out, come back, get your recruiting and your portal questions ready. Graham Hall from 24/7 Sports will join us. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Duffield Home Improvements for your window, siding, and roofing needs. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Silverback Concrete's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. Going to go to the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements, and it's the one and the only Graham Hall. Good morning, Graham. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Okay, the portal is open. It opened officially yesterday. There's quite a few kids in there. Let me ask you this question, Graham. Do you think let's use the Ohio State quarterback, okay? For whatever reason, he's in the portal now. Do you think he's in the portal and gonna wait and field offers from different schools, write down how much this school's offer me, and then counter offer? I mean, because nobody has just jumped out and said, I'm in the portal, I'm signing with this school. I think everybody's going to see who the highest bidder is. Am I wrong there?
You're not wrong. No, I think Kyle McCord is kind of in a similar situation to Graham Mertz last year, where it didn't really work out at one of the a top Power 5 program for him, and he's going to wait to see what other offers are out there and his best landing scenario and where he can have a chance to be successful. And guys are going to want to go on official visits, throughout that process, just like Graham Mertz did last year. I think for McCord, he may not really have a great idea of where he's going because he's coming from a program like Ohio State. Now, I think a lot of other players who are entering the portal at smaller schools like, even Oregon State, Washington State, schools like that, guys who are entering the portal right now, they probably already have an idea of where they are headed, their next destination. Guys like Cam Ward, they probably have, not to say, accuse anyone of rule breaking, but they've probably been having discussions with people throughout the season, or the representation that they have now doing their NIL deals has been able to have some of those conversations with other schools to get an idea of where their next playing stop is going to be. That's how guys get a little bit of a heads up on that. But really, I'm not really too surprised that no one has rushed into any decisions, quote unquote, as of yet, because you want to evaluate all your options, and you don't want to make it look like you had already made this decision of where to go this early. It's not like NBA free agency where midnight hits and, so-and-so is announced that they're signing with this next program. It's not quite like that. They do want to take those official visits. There's a lot to gain from those. So it's going to be a little bit of a process here for sure.
Anna says we only scored 28 points per game. Okay, I guess I was wrong. I don't know where I came up with 33 or 34 points in SEC play. My bad. Robert says players not only want to make money, they want to win. Gators got to get back to winning games. Players are going to where they can get the best of both worlds, money and win. That is very true, but there's only a handful of those kids that have those opportunities to go play at the teams that are going to be having an opportunity to win it all. All right, so when you look at the Gators, the kids that have entered the portal, which ones do you think are going to have an opportunity to go elsewhere? Because I'm a firm believer of this, Graham. I'm not just using Gators. I'm talking about a lot of kids in America. Their football careers have come to an end when they enter that portal.
I think it's very fair. At least they're going to be taking a step down. It's obviously for playing time and a chance to develop in game. And with the portal, you can always enter again afterwards and go somewhere else and apply for a waiver and go somewhere as a graduate student and have more experience under your belt. But yeah, there is a sad aspect of the portal, right? I mean, these aren't just all players that are choosing on their own to enter the portal. Some of them are getting pushed out, really, not speaking to anyone specifically at Florida, but, sometimes tough decisions are made. And like you said, someone's playing career is going to come to an unfortunate conclusion, or they're just never going to have an opportunity to play at this level again. And that's obviously sad. Now, as for players who are going to have a chance to play elsewhere, or maybe make, a potential upgrade on their current situation, I think that Chris McClellan is a pretty obvious one. I think that that's one that you don't want to lose him in any situation. Of course, I think that he provided, defensive line depth. He was still an underclassman. He was improving. He was able to contribute in all games last season and play a role this year. I could see him winding up at Texas A&M, just knowing that that's where Sean Spencer is headed. Caleb Douglas is another one. I think that the promise that he showed as an underclassman, ending his career injured, he could make a move and landed a equal destination to Florida, a team that is on the cusp of competing, or maybe, upgrade there and be a guy in a wideout rotation for a more competitive team right now. That is, I think, certainly a possibility for him. But otherwise, yeah, like you said, it's going to be tough for a lot of these guys to be on this stage again. And I do think there's a sad aspect to that, certainly.
Chris on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, Graham, with the big-time defensive lineman coming in this weekend, why has the staff not announced the new D-line coach? Who we got coming in this weekend?
I think that this is obviously going to be, this is a stretch here these next 3 weeks where Florida is going to be hosting some guys on official visits. They're visiting with LJ McCray right now this week as well, and making sure that, that those relationships are all solidified. And obviously that there's going to be some players filling out those last couple roles over the next couple weeks. But as for recruiting defensive line, Austin Armstrong has done a great job of that for Florida. He was the lead guy for LJ McCray. It wasn't Sean Spencer who was his lead recruiter. I think that the defensive line coach, that may take a little bit, who knows, more time than hiring a defensive backs coach. From what I've heard, they've zeroed in on a particular candidate that it should be announced. I believe, I don't know what their timeline is to announce it, but as everyone's talking about the recruiting trail, how vital that is to have an assistant out there. You can't just rely solely on quality control guys. You'd like to have someone on the trail. If it's someone in the NFL level, I could understand why there's going to have to be a wait and see type approach to them actually being named in the role. Now, with all that said, coaches are talking to families and players. They're telling them who they're looking at. These kids have an idea of who is going to be coaching them at the next level. The defensive coordinator, I think, when it comes to recruiting defensive players, is obviously going to be the most vital one there, especially given Florida's current circumstances. So, but you obviously want to have someone on the trail. It's an interesting situation, certainly for Florida.
Yes, for sure. Robert wants this question on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Are you able to return to the school you're wanting to transfer from if no other team shows interest?
Theoretically, you are, absolutely, but
doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. I mean, you're really taking a huge risk in entering the portal because you're getting all your financial aid cut off right away. In a sense, here you have to deal with potentially your credits transferring over to a new institution. Unless you're a top tier player and you enter the portal and the coaching staff really, really wants you back, and you enter the portal and then you change your mind, have a change of heart, and of course the coaching staff realizes that they'd be best off taking you back. Say in theory that had happened last year with Ricky Pearsall, then of course, that's a win to get that guy back into your program. But to answer the question, no one entering the portal right now. This Florida coaching staff is taken back after they've entered the portal within its first 24 hours opening.
1966 HBC beer is available at Spurs Gridiron Grill, Gator Games in the Swamp, and select retail outlets. Crisp American Lager 1966 HBC beer. Got Graham Hall from 24/7 Sports, courtesy of Duff Hill Home Improvements. Graham, a text on the Titan Mar text line from George. He wants to know, what are you hearing about the new coaching hires for Billy Napier?
Yeah, I think that they're going to be the defensive line coach, I don't really know too much where that is headed right now. I think that is one that is going to take some time to play out. I'm not too certain. I know that there's programs out there like Clemson that were able to quickly make a hire within a week of parting ways with some main coordinators. Maybe that happens here in the coming days. I could certainly see it being the case when it comes to the defensive backs coach. Maybe Florida announces another coach in a shakeup to their coaching staff. I can't really say for certain here, but as for a timeline, Florida has really kind of kept that, close to the chest here, pretty much. They haven't really said too much on a specific timeline. I think that everyone has an ideal timeline in mind, given how valuable the recruiting trail, everything I just spoke about, having a coordinator on the trail, how valuable that is. There's obviously ways to mitigate that, so it's not a huge negative for your recruiting pitch, certainly. But as for an actual timeline, I would expect a defensive backs coach to be the first domino that falls here, and then we'll get some more information, hopefully in the next week before that. But I could also see this process, if it is someone, like I said, from the professional level, I could see this process lasting a significant period. I just don't know.
Tim says, remembering when we used to worry about grades to see who made it in the bowl game. When's the last time any player from any school was suspended for a game due to grades? I don't even know if kids go. I mean, I know they do, but in the world today, it's crazy.
You rarely hear about it. I mean, because then how would they just not know in the weeks prior? Did someone just absolutely tank all their finals? I mean, they're paying attention to players' grades throughout the season, And Florida certainly has enough resources to make sure that's not a factor anymore.
Yeah. Graham, obviously the Gators in the portal, and people say they need to move faster. Well, it just opened yesterday. Um, what are they looking for? Best players available to help your team, or is it all big guys on both sides of the ball?
I think they certainly realize that they need to, focus on the offensive line and the defensive line. And that, just historically evaluating the position, that may take a little bit more time. You don't instantly see it on film. You need to see someone's work ethic. You want to have them on official visit. You want to get them on campus and schedule a meeting and get practice film of them. And obviously experience matters. And that's a position where I think you see less diamonds in the rough in the portal than really any other position. So that can translate to just taking a little bit more time. That's one that you have to be focused on scouting throughout the season here. Go back to last year, what Florida did when they identified Cam Jackson and Caleb Banks very early on, that they realized that they're going to have to get those guys, and even guys with so few snaps like Caleb Banks was, because other programs, those are a luxury. So I think that certainly is going to be a focus here in the next 2 weeks. It's going to take, I think, a little bit more time. And obviously this weekend with having some transfers on campus for official visits, that's going to be a factor as well in kind of thinning the herd, so to speak here. But that has to be the focus. I think that wide receiver and skill positions like that they're a little bit secondary right now to ensuring that you have some quality offensive linemen that get in here by January.
Chris wants to know on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Has Graham heard anything about internal frustrations regarding the boosters and Napier's approach?
I mean, we hear rumors all the time. I mean, just hearing it from one person, I don't think it speaks from, that's a anecdotal evidence. It's a small sample size. I give credence to a person's opinion, absolutely. But do I think it's a widespread belief? I can't really speak for that. I could see why some may be frustrated with the current timeline of the rebuild at Florida and the level of monetary investment that it takes now to build a program. These are obviously, this is another factor, difficult economic times for people. And I could understand why there may be some who are frustrated. Absolutely. With all that said, though, do I think that Florida's support system, the boosters are, threatening to no longer support Billy Napier in this program? No, I think that they understand that is a very short-sighted move. I see the rumors out there on the message board. Trust me, on Twitter. I wouldn't put too much credence into all that right now.
Natasha says, will the portal kill high school recruiting? I'm going to let you to answer that. I think where it's hurting high school recruiting is a lot of times coaches see whether it's a really great athlete that they say, you know what, we can maybe turn him into a really good football player. I think those type of players are getting lost because they got to find guys that can play right away. But do you think it's hurting high school recruiting when it's all said and done?
I mean, I'll say, yeah. I think, to speak to what you just said, there are certainly less spots for high school players across the board and developmental players who aren't ready to play, maybe even from junior year in high school, where they could potentially even reclassify and get to a program by 17 years of age. I mean, let's talk about Kamari Wilson, a guy who's entering the portal, had high expectations. Young players, if they really maybe, aren't developed at a high level already, or maybe even in between positions, or the scheme necessarily isn't something that they're familiar with. Any of these things can be a factor in limiting someone with high potential from being able to even contribute early on. And I think that may even result in taking some players that have a lower ceiling, in a sense, because you see that they can come in and play still right away, maybe at not the highest level in year 3 or 4, as opposed to some other players, but you're taking players who you think can play early. And so that's affecting your recruiting strategy. And then, yeah, they're going to take less risks on guys who are going to also develop. So it's kind of a double-edged sword in a sense where there's a lot of people who are getting less opportunities to be a Power 5 football player because of the current need for guys to play immediately right now. And do I think it's killing high school recruiting? I can see that argument, certainly. I think that there's some other factors at play here. The COVID year, the amount of years that guys have right now at the collegiate level, everyone getting an extra year, that is another factor as well, where you're going to have more players who are going to have to take a preferred walk-on deal if they want to play college football, while some of these COVID guys finish up their careers after 6, sometimes even 7 years right now. That is a factor as well. Obviously, the transfer portal, you have to save spaces for players coming from the portal, even into, February, March, and then again in April and May when you're coming out of spring practice and still finalizing your roster. All of this has an effect on high school recruiting. And I think it makes those recruiting decisions more valuable because you're taking less players. And if you miss on one, that's a larger portion of your class right now, and someone that you are relying to play on early for your program. And if you hadn't taken them, you could have taken someone from the transfer portal that had experience, could have come in and played right away. So it makes those decisions even more valuable in the recruiting trail. And that is, I think, led to a decline across the board in opportunities for a lot of high school players. So it's a complicated situation. I may have danced around an answer for you. I don't think it's killed high school recruiting. High school recruiting has never been more valuable, with making sure that you're evaluating guys correctly, because they're no longer going to have to sit 3-4 years unless they're at programs sometimes like Alabama or Georgia. You're relying on them to come in and play either a role as a backup who is able to see the field if someone goes down, or someone who's going to come in and start. And that's what Florida has made clear here. And that's what makes high school recruiting so valuable. When I come on here and speak about faith in Billy Napier and why I still have confidence in him, I point to the high school recruiting, how he's evaluated, and how it looks like Florida's going to add an influx of talent that is going to be able to see the field and potentially make this a much more competitive team next season.
We got a last question for you. We got about 2 minutes. It's from Bart on the Titan Mar text line. It's a 2-part question. He says, do you expect any more Gators to enter the portal? And secondly, do you see any flips from the recruiting class?
Ooh, that's tough. I do think that more Florida players will enter the portal. I still think that's an ongoing process. I don't think it's going to be another double-digit exodus of players. Florida, I think, has already had 11 players enter the portal. I can see a couple more joining that group, but a lot of these guys should have made their minds up before the portal opened. That's what this past week was for, in evaluating your decision. I don't think that anyone who's waited has cost themselves communication time and potentially some spots with other programs. So unless something changes, or they had a change of heart, I don't see too many players entering the portal, but I still think that there will be some guys who enter the portal. As for flips, I think that there's some that you still have to obviously make sure don't happen. You don't want to lose Amaris Williams to Ohio State. I think that there are certainly some other players that Florida is recruiting to ensure that they don't flip. I think that LJ McCray is solid from what I've heard. I think that that's someone you're going to have to obviously recruit consistently until he signs, just given that other programs are trying to, chip away at his commitment and get in his ear and convince him to go somewhere other than Gainesville. So flips are certainly possible here. I don't think there's any imminent as of right now, Tuesday morning, but it's something that Florida's going to have to be wary about for the next 2 weeks.
Graham, let everybody know they can follow you on Twitter and read all your good stuff.
Hey, I appreciate you having me. I hope I didn't ramble too much about recruiting. Hope some of that makes sense here. Always my pleasure. Follow me at Swamp247. Right now, we're running a 60% off deal. You take advantage of that. If you haven't joined us, get all the inside scoop on recruiting from Blake Alderman and Jacob Brudner. They do a great job tracking transfers, answering questions about recruiting, and following all the coaching stops. So follow them and follow me on Twitter at Grant Hall. And we'll have to do this again pretty soon here. It's going to be a busy 2 weeks.
No doubt. Thank you, buddy. Have a good day.
I'll take care. Thanks, man.
That's Graham Hall. Join us on the Titan Moore Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. This Day in Sports in 1981, the 47th Heisman Trophy went to tailback from Southern Cal, Marcus Allen. Hope you enjoyed today's program. I want to thank Buddy and Graham for joining us. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.